How's it going, everyone? My name is True Wonder Dog, and today we're having a look at Cetrion's Variation 3. Once again, it seems like a lot of players are not very satisfied with this build, especially Cetrion mains. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't play Cetrion very much at all, but I have seen her a lot at tournaments, so I still have a good idea of what makes Cetrion good. As always, please request which character you want next in the comments section below, and without any further ado, let's get started. Alright, we're going in raw, we're freestyling it, let's see. Okay, we have Deadly Winds, that one seems pretty straightforward, and then we have this one, Conflux of Elements. Cost 2 bars! 2 bars of defensive meter, and I do believe it's random. And look at that input. I'm already a bit offended by that input. Down, down, up? That is just ridiculous. What's wrong with down, up like a teleport input? Does she still have the teleport? No? It could have just been down, up, honestly, and just replaced the teleport. So first up, we have Deadly Winds. It's a pretty decent projectile, hits mid, so the opponent can't duck under it. It's also pretty good on block as well, so up close, it's -7, so not punishable, and it resets the neutral, and this is about where Cetrion wants to be. However, this move is very, very long on startup, not as long as the boulder. So it's actually a faster version of the boulder. However, you still don't want to do it up close, because if the opponent blocks what you're doing, then you go into it, they can just open you up for a full combo. Now you could do this every now and then, and condition them, make them think that's coming so they keep blocking, then you catch them with this, and you keep yourself safe without having to spend meter. That certainly could be an option. However, this move excels as a zoning tool, so you don't want to do it up close. Instead, you want to do it around jumping distance or a bit further. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't quite go full screen, so in that way, it's not better than the boulder. It still has faster startup, but doesn't quite go full screen, so kind of a catch-22. And just like the boulder, this move is much better on block when done from far away, so now it's +4. Even further away, it's now +7. And if you land it at max distance, it can be even better still, so +10, and that pretty much guarantees your boulder. Right, the opponent can't do much of anything there, unless they got a teleport. Then they can do something, but otherwise it can be pretty darn good. It's a really good zoning tool. Now the issue is, by default, it's not very tough to actually jump over, so I'm gonna go ahead and take control of Jade just to explain what I mean here. So I'm gonna take control of Jade, then I'm gonna tell Cetrion to throw this at me. So back up, and then just throw it. It's got a huge windup, and not a very tall hitbox. You can jump over this thing on reaction, even from further away. It doesn't hit as high as it appears. You can actually jump through the tornado a bit and still go over it. It's not very difficult. It's much harder, honestly, to jump over the boulder than it is this tornado. But here's the nice thing. You can choose to spin the bar for this move. And if you do, it becomes gigantic. It covers pretty much the entire screen, and you now have to deal with it, and it's still really, really good on block. How good is it up close? +1. Look at that. Now the startup doesn't seem much better, and it's not, but still, it's now a gigantic wall. Does it go full screen? Still not full screen, but still a wall. The opponent has to deal with this thing. They can't jump over it, they can't float over it. Characters like Katana or even Jade, who can hover in the air, can't beat it with that. Now she could just go purple in some builds and avoid it entirely, but if she's in Variation 3, she can't do that. She's got to deal with it, or teleport. One of the two, because it is that gigantic wall that you have to deal with. And it gets certain characters who don't have very good mobility options or teleports. This can just be a huge nuisance. So honestly, this move really isn't that bad. It's one of the better projectiles that Cetrion has, and I think it's pretty balanced. It has a pretty long windup, so you don't want to do it up close, and the hitbox isn't the best when used normally, but it's still very, very good on block. Positive, and the better you space it, the more positive it is. Then if you amplify it, the opponent can't do anything about it, they just have to block it or get out of the way because they can't jump over it, no way to pass through it. And then next up we have Conflux of Elements. So this one is a bit complicated. So by default, it costs you 2 defensive bars. So no wake ups and certainly no combo breaker. You can't escape the combos, and you also have no defensive options if you're knocked down. That's pretty darn rough. And to make things even worse, it takes up 2 slots, and even worse still, what element you get is completely random. So if I do it right now, I get fire, but I might get wind, I might get earth, or I might get water. So let's go ahead and describe what each one does. So the fire ring is pretty straightforward. If they're inside of it, they take continuous damage. Pretty darn good, especially if you have the corner. However, once again, you can't control when you get it, but if it does manage to happen under those circumstances, it's very strong. It would also be really good if you have the life lead and the opponent has to come to you and the clock is counting down. That would be very exceptional to get it right then and there. Alright, let's roll the dice one more time. What do we got? Fire again. I should mention if I throw forward and they're inside of this, I get a crushing blow. And it's some pretty decent damage, and had she stayed in the ring of fire, it would have been even more. So with the fire ring active, your throw could actually do much more damage, which is quite interesting. Alright, we got the rocks. So The rocks are basically that if the opponent hits you, one of the rocks might be on top of them and catch them. So it's kind of like a combo breaker, like a built-in combo breaker, but only if the rocks happen to be in the right spot. And once you hit the opponent, that rock goes away. So potentially you could have 3 different combo breakers. Now here's the issue, they're a high attack. So the opponent could just do this, or this, or this. And they can hit you for free and the rocks won't actually catch them. I kinda wish the rocks were a mid, but as of right now, they only work if the opponent is standing up because they hit high. Even so, if the opponent has you cornered and you summon this thing, that's gonna be fantastic. You can just stand your ground and then just block low because anything else will catch the opponent, including their throws, because the opponent is vulnerable after they throw you. So it's honestly pretty darn good. These rocks could be very, very effective. Alright, we got wind. So this one is bizarre. So basically, if the opponent wants to get inside of this thing, they have to work pretty hard. It tries to keep them out, but then once they get inside of it, it tries to keep them inside. So it becomes harder to escape. So the idea behind this move is to enhance your zoning. Not only is it tougher for the opponent to get through, but once they get inside of it, they're stuck, and at that point your zoning becomes even more powerful. So the idea behind the wind is that you summon it in between you and the opponent, and they have to deal with all your keep away. Now of course a teleport could just avoid it, but in that circumstance you could stand inside of the tornado. That way they get stuck inside of it too, and then you just jump out of it and then the zoning can keep going. So once again, this move is pretty interesting. I think it's my least favorite of the 4, but it still does serve a purpose and it seems pretty useful. Alright, and now we have water. So this one is like Aquaman from Injustice. Now if you didn't play that game, don't worry, I shall explain. Basically this move allows you to slip out of combos if you're standing. So in other words, even if the opponent hits me when I'm playing Cetrion, if there's a gap in their string, I can still block. So they hit me, the string keeps going, but I can slip out and then block the rest of their string. It's pretty darn strong. And what makes the water especially powerful is it works great for offense or defense, because if you're cornered and I get the water, I can just go in because nothing you do will catch me in a combo. But then if you have me near the corner and I summon the water, you still can't combo me, so it's great for defense or offense. I can just go ham, and nothing you do is really gonna combo me unless you knock me off my feet. Like maybe a jumping kick could catch me, because then I'm stuck in the air and I can't slip out. But as long as I'm still on my feet, I can slip out of that combo and you won't get nothing when that water's active. So as you can see, these elements are honestly really awesome and have tons of potential. My biggest gripe is that they're random and they cost 2 bars. I could understand one or the other, like it costs 2 bars but you can control them, or you can't control them at all but it only costs 1 bar. That would be just fine to me. The fact that I lose every defensive option and it's completely random just makes it very rough and not really worth the risk, because unless I get the water version or maybe the rock version, there's no way to save me if you start off that combo. So once again, if I could control them, then I think it would be worth the 2 bars, because then it would be up to me. Do I want to go in with the offense? Do I want the fire? Do I want to do the zoning? Because both of those leave me a bit vulnerable. You can still combo me, but I have the potential for better zoning or more damage. Whereas the water version and the earth version are much better for defense. They keep me a bit more safe and can even free me out of combos once you hit me. Which is a good thing, because once again I spent 2 bars, so the chance to escape your combo feels a bit more fair, because otherwise I just can't do that. Now in fairness, your meter does refill faster than it would if you dropped out of a combo. So even though you do spend 2 bars, it refills a bit faster, and also you can cancel into this move, which did not used to be the case. That's pretty darn cool, and the startup isn't half bad. So you could easily hit the opponent, cancel into this, or land a combo, and as they're in the air, instead of ending the combo, you cancel into this, and as they're getting up, they have to deal with you. Once again, the forward throw in all of these circles can crushing blow, so that's already immediately scary, especially if I have you cornered. So having the option to cancel into this thing is really strong, and I do appreciate that. But having it cost 2 bars, while also making it random, just doesn't make this variation feel worth it at all. If it was one or the other, I think that would be perfectly fine and would make a lot of sense. Either you can control it and it costs 2 bars, or you can't control it and it only costs 1 bar. Because at least that way you still have some wake up options. You could roll or go for an attack, some way to get the opponent off of you, because you don't have the teleport in this variation. In many ways she has less retreat options than ever before, but she still has to give up all of her defensive options just to go for this move. And I really do think one of these changes has to happen, because Cetrion has 2 very good variations already. So if you want to make this 3rd variation viable, then you have to make one of those changes for conflux of elements. But please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. How do you feel about this variation? And while you're down there, go ahead and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. It really does help my channel out a ton. And finally, why not keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell? That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.